AM 1160. You got to punch a button here, punch a button there, and then we can talk to Allyson Johnson from the National Geographic, and it's good to have her with us. Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people, brings us Allyson this morning. Allyson, my goodness, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's drives of a lifetime, 500 of the world's greatest road trips. I didn't realize it's been 10 years since the first edition of this book came out. That's a long time, and, well, that means that you've probably had a chance to get some pretty exciting updates in the book, huh?
Yeah, it really gave us an opportunity to think about how we would update this book, and we ended up adding 100 new drives to this book through long itineraries and top 10 lists. And, you know, for the past 10 years, this book has been a great bestseller for us, and it's only gotten better since.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a gorgeous book. I mean, my goodness. And in this year, especially when people are, you know, they have some trepidation, some qualms about getting out on the road, we can take a trip through anywhere in the world in this book.
Yeah, you know, right now might not be the time to go out there, but you can travel from your armchair, dream now, add it to your bucket list, and then go later when it's safe to do so.
How did you ever get Joe Yogers to sit down long enough to write for this book?
You know, it's hard to get him to sit still. He travels all the time, and the great thing about him always being on the go is that he finds all these great road trips for us because he's just traveling constantly and looking for new routes and things to do.
Yeah. Well, in this case, Joe and everybody else at National Geographic, because I know you've got a whole team of people that are coming together to contribute to this, that you found some really, really neat things to do out along the roadways. Now, you mentioned, how many new trips are you talking about in this particular edition?
We have 100 new trips in this one, so there's a lot to choose from.
Wow, there really, really are. And you can go anywhere. We're talking around the world. So let's get outside of the United States. I know that's much harder to do for folks nowadays, and a lot of people don't want to do that until it's actually much safer to do so. But the drives around the world, I really liked, for instance, going through Tuscany through the book. What a beautiful region of the world that is. And the African drives just fascinate me.
Yeah, I mean, what a cool way to experience wildlife and scenic landscapes in the African drives. It's beautiful, and there's a lot to choose from. One of my favorites around the world is actually the Golden Triangle in India. And you take this trip, you start at the Red Fort, and you go to the Taj Mahal, and you end up in Jaipur at the Amber Fort, and you're just seeing the best of India in one road trip. So, you know, we can't go there right now, but there's a lot to dream about doing as soon as we can.
Yeah, and one of the more famous trips you can take is the Silk Road.
A really big road trip through history in that one.
Yeah, that's through Uzbekistan. It's just wonderful, and the various formats of the book are just fascinating to me. There are full-color maps, so you can see where you're going to be going on this drive or that, and there are a lot of side trips you can take according to the book as well, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. You know, there are side trips that are connected to the routes you're already taking, but then we also have top 10 lists and also recommended that if you can't do some of these longer trips, there's shorter options for you, or if you're looking for a specific type of trip, whether it's a foodie road trip or a road trip that revolves around historical battlefields, we have roundups of road trips that you can take very easily. They're 1 to 3 hours long, and they're great road trips to take right now if you're itching to get out of your house but stay in the safety of your car.
I'm a tremendous history buff. I love history, and you look at some of the great historical sites that you can drive to and through. For instance, the Texas Hill Country trip past LBJ's house, or to LBJ's house at the National Historical Park there. That's a wonderful trip, and some of the others. There are great trips you can take right around your own neighborhood, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And that Texas Hill Country trip, the great thing about it is you get a little bit of history, you get a little bit of nature, because after LBJ's house, you stop at Enchanted Rock State Natural Area, which has beautiful pink granite domes. And then you stop in the apple capital of Texas called Medina. And so you really get a little bit of everything on all of these drives.
Yeah, they're just amazing. And what a great guidebook this is for us to suggest the trip that we might want to take. This is not just Allyson, this is not just a trip for people who have RVs, but it really is ideal if you have the RV, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. For the RVers out there, there are great multi-day trips that really make sense to pack the RV and go, and we recommend campsites along the way where you can hook up. But if you don't have an RV, there are those shorter trips, the 1 to 3 hour drives that, you can pack up your car and take a full day, or 2 if you want to stay somewhere along the way, but you don't need an RV. If you have one, this book is absolutely meant for you.
We're talking with Allyson Johnson. The book is National Geographic, Drives of a Lifetime, 500 of the World's Greatest Road Trips. This is the second edition of the book. Allyson, I don't know how many of these trips you've been able to take, but you've got time. and as you think about it, here we come into a winter season. Here in the Northeast, we're thinking about winter, and we might want to say, oh, let's just, buckle it up until we get to the spring and the roads get better. But we can take trips in the wintertime, can't we?
Absolutely. There are tons of trips to be taken. Up in Connecticut, there's the Litchfield Hills, and that's, New England landscapes at their best. The roads are safe to drive in the winter. You'll see scenic landscapes everywhere. If you do want those winter wonderlands, there are drives out in Colorado and in Montana that you can take where you'll see those mountain snowscapes. You'll see in Montana big sky country. You'll see the buffalo and the snowy fields. Or if you have the luxury of living somewhere warmer like Maui, Hawaii, there's the Winding Road to Hana, which is a beautiful road to take for a day trip in December or January just to get out a little bit.
I'm sure that as the book was coming together and you were helping to put this together, that you had a couple of trips there that you saw that thought, that's one I want to take someday. What are some of the trips that are on your sort of fantasy bucket list of trips to take?
Absolutely. One of them, Portugal hasn't been on my bucket list for a long time. So when I saw this drive in Portugal, it's a 2-hour route and it curves through olive groves and vineyards. You have the chance to taste wine and pour it, take tours of everything, make your own olive oil. That immediately went on my bucket list. And then there's another route that spans from Germany to the Czech Republic, and it's a multi-day route across 700 miles, but you see 90 castles and palaces along the way. So to me, it's like a fairy tale dream come true overseas that hopefully we get to do one day soon.
Drives of a Lifetime, 500 of the world's greatest road trips. There's certainly every suggestion you can think of. I love the one about the battlefield drives. My son and I are great history buffs, and those drives are not just, there is the one that we think of most around here, which would be a Gettysburg trip, the American military legends in Gettysburg and New Jersey, Maryland, some of those drives. But you can really, if you want to go on a battlefield drive, you can go anywhere in the world on this book.
Yeah, there are a ton of options for battlefields. We have battlefields in France and Belgium. We have battlefields in the Alps. We have battlefields in Japan. So wherever you find yourself, there is a historical battlefield that there are great road trips to take to discover. And like you said, we have our own here with American history through New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. And also even, in Texas, there's the Texas War of Independence, and there's a great route that we have in the book that spans that battlefield and that history.
Oh, that would be a wonderful trip to take. Tell me about Route 66, because that was, back in the day, 50 or 60 years ago, 70 years ago, Route 66 was the road to travel, and then it sort of fell into disrepair, and it was replaced by the interstate highway system. But Route 66 seems like it's still a fascinating road to drive.
It absolutely is, and it's having a resurgence. I think people have that nostalgia feel about Route 66, and things are coming back there. It still feels vintage and retro, but people want to experience Route 66. So we have a version of Route 66 in the book that starts in New Mexico and it ends in Arizona, and it's this fascinating drive, and you'll find vintage diners and motels along the way, 50 eras drive-in movie theaters, and it's a really fun trip down memory lane, I think.
We really go around the world with this book. It is called Drives of a Lifetime, 500 of the World's Greatest Road Trips. Allyson, how do people get their hands on this book? I know that for the holidays, this is going to find its way under a lot of trees.
I hope so, and you can find it anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, shopdisney.com. You can find it online or in stores.
Wonderful. Hey, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I really enjoy the book, and, well, it's going to be one that I can spend a warm winter cozying up with underneath the comforter.
Oh, great. Well, thank you.
Have a wonderful day today.
You too.
Bye-bye. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM and AM 1160.